How's everybody doing tonight? Are you ready for, what is it, day 7 of the Ugears mechanical Celesta, which is basically a xylophone with sort of a player piano functionality. We actually broke some major pieces. Hold on a second. We broke some major pieces in this, and as you can see on the side here, it like doesn't stay down because of that. And I try to put it down and then it pops off on the other side. So it's probably going to be a fail. I don't think, I don't think we can recover. It's probably going to be a fail, but we'll keep building it anyway. Hopefully, if you're building along, hopefully yours works. Mine's a fail. Mine doesn't work. Maybe there'll be a miracle. Let's see. All right. We got 6 boards here, but I think 3 of them are pretty much done. Still have some pieces, these hammers and these keys that we didn't use yet. We did use this string a little bit. I'll show you that in a second. We got some rubber bands. We got a thick rubber band that we didn't use yet. I feel like putting it on top of that piece that won't stay in place, but I don't know if we should do that or not. I don't know. We might need that rubber band for something else. That's why I haven't decided that we can use it yet, but maybe we will be able to. We'll see. So, instruction wise, let's see here. It says we did page 35 already. Did we? Page 35? No, we didn't do that. Okay. We did page 34. And that was the string that I was going to talk to you about. So there's this string on this piece. I don't really know why we put a string on this piece. I can just tell you that indeed there is a string on this piece. If I put it in the dark, you'll see the string a little better. You get some more color differentiation there. You see that white string. So we put that on this piece, which is now called piece E. I don't really know why, but we did it. And we're going to move on to, let's see here, page 35. Right. So now we're going to page 35 for real. And that involves piece 72, which I think that's a piece that we had accidentally popped out earlier. Let me get this kind of out of the way. So piece 72, piece 71, and then there's a times 8. What is that times 8 about? 73 times 8? So I guess we need 8 73s, so that's 10 pieces. So we need 10 pieces to do this this page. So we got 72, we need 71, and then we need 8 73s. So let's grab those pieces. And while I'm grabbing those pieces, let's remember the theme that we've been covering, which is self-education. So making yourself smarter. How do you go about that? I already covered a few things. Listening, talking. I know those sound like opposites, but they both help. Challenging yourself. Cross-pollinating information from one subject to another. There's a few things that we covered. I may not be all of them. But I got another one for you tonight. And that is trying to prove something right that you know is wrong. There's actually a TV show that's based on this whole concept. It's not the only thing they do, but if you go back to their early seasons, this was the big thing. This was the hook that put them on the map. All right, so I'm going to pull out these 73s here. We need 8 of them, so I'm going to grab 8 73s. So Impractical Jokers, that's the show. If you go back especially and look at the early seasons, the big hook of the Impractical Jokers is one guy would go out there and the other guys would be watching in the back, and they would talk into the guy's ear. So the one guy's out talking to the public, talking to random people, and the 3 guys in the back are like whispering in his ear, and they make him say something ridiculous. They make the guy say something that's totally not true. And then the guy ends up being put in a position of defending a ridiculous statement to these people that he's trying to convince, because it's a game and they're playing for points, and he also has to convince them of stuff. So how do you convince people of stuff that isn't true? Now, I'm not talking about lying, though I suppose in the technical sense it would be lying. I'm not saying that lying makes you smarter. I'm more saying thinking makes you smarter. Trying to think of the way that something you know isn't true could be true. So that happens. Go watch the first 3 seasons of Impractical Jokers. That happens all the time. All right, I'll talk about that subject a little more in a bit. I'll follow up on that. But right now, I want to put these 10 pieces together. So we've got everything we need. We've got 8 73s. We've got 71 and 72. So now let's put them together. So 72, I believe that's a, we have a guest with us in the chat. That's nice. How you doing? I'll clap and let me also smile, because the chat smiled, so I smile back. So here's the clap and the smile in the chat. And I return that energy to you. Isn't that how the universe works? The energy is nothing can be created or destroyed, only changed. Listen to those rules of physics. They mean sometimes more than you think they do. You think it's just about bouncing a rubber ball off a wall and it returning to you. But I'll tell you, it's so much more. It's everything. You ever get a negative feedback loop with someone? They say something negative, or that you perceive as negative. So then you go back at them with something negative, and then they go back at you at something negative. And maybe it even starts to escalate. There was a movie about this recently. It was like a miniseries on Netflix called Beef. Those people actually, they developed that into more. But sometimes it's very simple. But you know what? Before I go on talking, let me look at this. I hope I'm not breaking this. These pieces are having a hard time going in, and I'm sort of wondering if I'm doing something wrong. But just looking at them, the only thing I think that I can do better is flip it around, because this side is kind of looks bad. So I'm going to call that the inside and the other side the outside. So maybe I was putting it on the wrong direction. But I don't think it's going to change much. I think it's still going to be a difficult piece to get on. And you want to be careful not to break it when you're getting it on. So anyway, you can have a negative feedback loop where 2 people keep escalating their negativity towards each other when they don't have a base beef. The base problem could have been a simple misunderstanding, but they keep escalating. And sometimes you can break that just by thinking, you know what, today I'm going to smile and be nice to that person. And they're going to do it back. Because, the same way you can be in a negative feedback loop, you can be in a positive feedback loop. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to happen like that, but it can. It's like you have to try. So that was an example of, what is it? Nothing, energy can't be created or destroyed, only changed. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. What were Newton's 3 laws? Nothing can be created or destroyed, only changed. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object in rest tends to stay at rest. I mean, these are laws of physics. Like, planets and atoms obey these laws, but they also can be very true psychologically when dealing with people. And I think a lot of that comes from the brainwashing that people undergo just simply by being members, inhabitants of this universe. I mean, you see the way the physics works in the universe, and you might sort of work a little bit like it. I'm not saying there aren't other reasons. I'm not saying that is the only reason, but it's part of it. I mean, you sort of see how things work, and you can't help but think that that makes sense, you know? Not everyone thinks like that. They're psychos. All right. I'm having trouble getting this piece in, which means it's going to take a while, so I think I should go back to that other topic I was thinking about, which is a way to educate yourself by thinking about something that's crazy or that you think is crazy. I'll bring up an example. So it's actually the third most watched video on my channel, or based on watch hours. And it's a radio interview I did a few years ago, and it's regarding the subject of flat Earth. You don't have to believe in flat Earth or disbelieve in flat Earth to get the benefit of thinking about it, because in fact it's better if you don't believe it, because you start with something that you think is crazy or that is crazy, and then you try to figure out for what reason might someone believe this. They do this in debate club. If you've ever heard of like a high school debate club, they'll come up with an issue, and they'll tell you, they'll like flip a coin or whatever, and they'll say, you're going to do this. I actually don't know how it works in debate club, but somehow they decide who gets which side of each issue, and you have to defend your side. I mean, no matter how crazy it seems. So in the process of doing that, let's say it's flat Earth, you're going to have to defend satellites, moon landings, planes. It's like whatever you know about this world, and you've been told that the Earth is a globe, and this is the evidence for it, you're going to have to defend all those things. And you're going to have to come up with counterpoints. And you might think, well, if one side is true and the other side is false, how are you going to come up with counterpoints? Well, you might be surprised. You'll come up with a lot of points. Think back to the Impractical Jokers. Watch their first few seasons. They would come up with all this like reasons why this totally false and fake and made up stuff was true. Oh, by the way, the Impractical Jokers and we went to the same high school. And in fact, they were freshmen when I was a senior. And in fact, one of the things I used to do to entertain myself is I would be like walking down the hallway, and I'd see some door open, and I'd talk to the other guy, and I'd say something crazy, so that the other guy would ask a question back, and then I would come up with a way to make sense of it. So basically, 30 years before the Impractical Jokers TV show, or 25 years before it, I was doing the same thing in the hallways of that high school that I went to with them. Because, they play Impractical Joker, someone says in their ear the crazy thing, and then the Impractical Joker has to defend it. Whereas I would just say something crazy, and then I would defend it. Basically, I was challenging myself. I'm not claiming that I gave them the idea. Maybe the whole school already had this idea and I was just falling in line with it. But whatever. It is something I used to do to entertain myself. And obviously I do a lot of it if I also was doing Flat Earth radio interviews a few years ago. And you might say, isn't that a conspiracy theory? Aren't conspiracy theories dangerous? Like, we've heard that, right? Like, well, here's the thing. The conspiracy theory is dangerous for the blind follower of the conspiracy theory or the conspiracy theorist. It's not dangerous for the person coming up with the theories. All right, hold on a second while I study the instructions. All right, so 73 goes in. If I'm holding the 70 and 71 like this, then the 73 goes in with this loop in the back. That looks like it can hold a string, by the way. But it's not necessarily the back because these pieces are symmetric. So really, the only thing that matters might be that you're consistent, that you put them all going in the same way. So let's put them all in while we talk about this. So conspiracy theories, they don't hurt the conspiracy theorist. In fact, that's one of the things that makes a conspiracy theorist convincing is that they're smart people. I mean, if you're spending all your time trying to make sense out of nonsense, you'll actually develop your brain. And you'll seem very smart, and you've researched your topic, so you're going to seem like you know what you're talking about. But you, in your mind, know that it's nonsense, but the listener might not. The listener, the reader, the person looking at the picture, the person who's hearing you, overhearing you talk, whatever it is. So let's get it right off the bat. What is a conspiracy theorist? Every investor is a conspiracy theorist. Every prosecutor is a conspiracy theorist. Every mystery novel author is a conspiracy theorist. Every person who's figured out the future before it happened was a conspiracy theorist. There's unless they have a crystal ball. It's like telling them what to do. But the act of trying to make sense out of nonsense, it's not going to hurt the person doing the thinking. Who it could hurt is the person doing the listening, if the person doing the listening is not listening to both sides of the debate, or the conspiracy theorists and the counter conspiracy theorists. And that's actually something that's relevant to today's world. A lot of people are talking about whether you should be able to say misinformation online or hate speech online. I would say the hate speech, you can stop the hate speech, but here's the problem. Who's going to administer stopping the hate speech? And are they going to define any disagreement as hate? Because if you define the disagreement as hate, then you're only going to hear one side of the argument. So an example right now would be the transgender movement. And many countries are trying to put a pause on the transgender movement until they see what's going on. Because there's some crazy stuff going on. For example, there's a lot of people, I don't know, I say a lot, I don't know the exact number, but there's a number of people, at least in the hundreds this number is, who had their insurance covered surgery for them to transition, which means they started off male and became female, or they started off female and became male. And now they want to go back, they change their mind, and the insurance doesn't cover that. Or the doctor, in some cases, can't do it. He threw some parts in the garbage, or he converted them in such a way that they can't be converted back, or it's just basically not that easy. And it's also not covered, which is strange when you think about it, because they're saying it's covered. Like you feel some way in your brain and you want to make your body match the way you feel in your brain, and that's covered by your insurance. But if you decide that that's not actually how you feel and you want to go back to how your body originally was, like that's somehow not covered. That's kind of weird, right? But sometimes it's just not possible. Can't always reverse. Not everything that you do is reversible. Maybe don't do things that aren't reversible. I mean, that's some like personal accountability or whatever you want to call it. All right. I think we got this built. For a second, I was thinking, where's the string? But I actually don't know if there's supposed to be a string. Let's just see what happens next here. All right. Is this the entire page 35? Let's take a look. Page 35, 71, 72, 73 times 8. Did I increase the counter? I'm just going to check here. No, I didn't. I didn't increase the counter. So we should increase the counter by 10. So like it started at 375, so it should be at 385. Okay, let me just increase the counter here. The piece counter on the scoreboard. All right, 385. All right, now we're going to increase the page counter because we're going to go to page 36. All right, page 36 times 16. We're going to put on 70, the piece 70 16 times. So we're again going to have more time to talk about this topic, and those 70s, those 16 70s, after we put them on, we have to wax them all. So before we do anything, we got to pop them out. So let's pop out the 70s. All right. There's some 70s. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We need 16 of them, which is more than we have here. Yeah, there's 14 here. We need 2 more from somewhere else. So let's start with the somewhere else before we go on to that board. Wow, we got a lot of empty boards here. We must be pretty far along on this puzzle. Okay, so this first board that we thought we were done with. Yeah, we are done with this. There's no 70s here. All right. There's one board we didn't start on yet. There's no 70s there either. Do you see any 70s here? I don't. There's no 70s there. So, did we lose pieces? What's going on here? All right, no 70 here. No 70s here. No 70s here. That means there are 16 on this sheet. We just somehow don't see them. And this thing is still broken. That's annoying me. Very broken back there. All right, we're just going to start popping out 70s. And, oh, there's 6 more of them here. I don't know how I missed that. All right, so let's pop out the 70s. I'll tell you what's a simple way to do this thing that we've been talking about. Science fiction or comic book superpowers. Because those are fake. But if you try to think how those could be real and not like with a cop-out. Because I know a lot of times Marvel, I think they even do this on purpose. Not just Marvel. I mean DC or anybody. They'll do like cop-out they'll just say, oh, this property, this mineral that doesn't exist in real life has this property that gives them all these superpowers. They basically don't try to think through the science, but you can. So Marvel's kind of covering their butt or whatever, but you can go on the forums and you could think how it works. And there's great examples of this, and they may not even be wrong. Like, for example, there's a video like Daniel LaRusso was the enemy of Karate Kid. So if you enjoy the Cobra Kai video series, that kind of comes, the Netflix series, or it used to be Google or whatever, Apple, I don't know, 3, 6, all right, we got 12, we got 4 more to go. So if you enjoy the Cobra Kai series, that kind of started from a YouTube video saying Daniel LaRusso was really the bad guy in Karate Kid. And there's another video like Jar Jar Binks was really the Sith Lord of the prequels. So these are just, sci-fi. Nobody's going to accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist. You're just making a fun little argument. You can just pick any sci-fi or any movie and just try to come up with your own argument for something. Every time there's a trial, there's two sides, both trying to get their way. By the way, that's 1670s. So every time there's a trial, there's two sides, each trying to convince, let's call it the jury, of their way of seeing things. And the jury's going to agree with one and disagree with the other, but they're probably both going to make good arguments. I mean, only one is true. Only one is going to be deemed true, but they're both going to present convincing arguments. Like, how could that be? Like, are they both true? And I think this is okay. Some people get really offended when other people disagree with them. And that that's not the correct way to live life. Well, again, I'm sounding like closed-minded when I say that, but let's say there's something flawed there. Because there's people who will get mad if you like a different sports team, or if you like a different soft drink or a different hard drink. They'll get mad because you disagree with them. Like, why would they care? Like if they like Pepsi and you like Coke, they should be glad that you like Coke because it's more Pepsi for them. Though you probably could create a counter argument that if you don't have enough people who like Pepsi, they'll change the formula or they'll stop making it and then their Pepsi will go away. So even what I say about why would you care, you can come up with a reason why you care. You see how it starts to work? Maybe a simple way to remember that, because this will help you both with regular intelligence and emotional intelligence, is to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Maybe that's the simplest way to do, today's sort of self-education assignment. Like, when you have a disagreement with someone, try to prove both points. You don't have to tell them. You can just do it, for your own benefit, but in your own mind. But try to secure your point and try to see things from their point of view. And sometimes people change their mind. I mean, not always, and you don't have to. But sometimes, even if you don't change your mind, you see where the other person is coming from. And it now doesn't bother you that they think something different. Or you always could just say, what do you care what I think? Because I've been in that position where, I don't know if the other person's, trying to convince me of something or if they're trying to test how committed I am. But, it gets to the point where it's they ask, why do you like this? And I say, why? And then they give a counter argument and try to see if they've convinced you. And at some point I go what do you care what I think? which is a really weird thing. Like, why would you care what I think? I know that sometimes this is relevant. For example, when you're trying to win an election, but that's actually the good way of doing things. Like, if you're trying to sell someone on your point of view, or better yet, trying to understand what they want and deliver on it, that's sort of the good kind of politics. The bad kind would obviously be cheating, lying, intimidating, fear tactics, misinformation. There's a lot of bad ways to do politics. There might be more bad ways than good ways, I'm not sure. But a good way would be, trying to understand where people are coming from and try to create solutions that both sides can get behind. Common ground, I think, is maybe the phrase for that. Like, find common ground. I'm sure we could find common ground. Yeah. You probably can. Will you both vote for the common ground? Because I know that the argument that I don't know if it feels the same from both sides, but I know my side, it feels like, why do they only want to compromise? They only want us to compromise. That's what it feels like to me. But maybe from the other side, it feels like the same. Maybe they feel like they're always losing. Maybe compromise feels like a loss to both sides, and maybe it is. But, what's the alternative? A war that keeps escalating to infinity? I mean, that can't be the answer. We already talked about that earlier. It's a tit for tat. And sometimes it's not even a tit for tat. Sometimes it's like tat for nuke or something like that. And you definitely don't want to be in that type of war. What was Japan doing? I know I'm sidetracking, but I really should study World War II because we were told the Nazis were the worst people in World War II, and they certainly, I'm not going to disagree with that. They certainly do appear to have been the worst actors in World War II. But we dropped a nuke on Japan. Why the hell did we do that? Was that really did that make sense? At the time? I'm sorry if I sound like I'm laughing. I mean, it happened 3 decades before I was born, or maybe more than that. No, I think about that. Maybe less than that, actually. We did that. America did that. America wasn't even the main, stakeholder in that war. We weren't, we were far away. Nobody was, bothering us. Oh, right, Japan. They bombed Pearl Harbor. Why did they do that? Well, that would be an example of tat for nuke. Because they sent stuff. They sent, this fleet with some, I guess, aircraft carrier with some fighters, and then did some kamikaze stuff and took down a couple of our aircraft carriers. But that was almost an isolated incident. They had to fly across or sail across the Pacific to do that. That wasn't going anywhere. Other than involving the U.S. in the war, which is a strange thing as well, because some people act like, oh yeah, they had to get the U.S. in the war. Did they? Because if you look at the statistics from the war, the U.S. was, didn't really do much. I mean, outside of D-Day, they were pretty much occupied with Japan. So the only thing that Japan got out of bombing the U.S. was the U.S. fighting them. That sounds like a stupid decision on Japan's part. If they thought bringing the U.S. into the war would make sense, it didn't. And then, of course, the U.S. takes credit. I mean, China and Russia lost 10 million people each fighting Germany. Russia did the march to Berlin. But somehow in U.S., we're convinced that we're the heroes of World War II. We were on the right side, which is better than the wrong side. We did some good work. As we just discussed, we did some questionable work. But we shouldn't steal the credit from other people. I mean, we weren't the first to sound the alarm about Hitler, and we weren't the most aggressive in stopping him. We wish that we were, and maybe that's why we teach it the way we do, but other people did more. You know, it's like, I guess it's okay. I mean, we live here, and, you know, if you're watching it from the U.S., then I guess it's okay for every country to highlight their own contribution, but to think that we made a major contribution and the primary contribution, it's simply not accurate, not by the numbers. But we are who we are, and we got to be expected to focus on our own, so it's not the worst thing. And plus, I mean, we were on the right side. I mean, that's the most important part. Whether you were the biggest player or the smallest player, you were on the right side. All right. So we again forgot to add the pieces. So there were 16 pieces there. That was page 36. 16 pieces to go from 385. I think this is going to go to 401, right? With 16 pieces. So all three digits are changing. We're now at 401. The puzzle only goes to 573. We're now on page 37. All right, what are we doing here? We're building something 8 times and then adding it. What is going on here? All right, so 74 and 2 75s. They get connected together. We do that 8 times. And then we attach it somewhere. Attach it by those circles. Oh, okay. I like where this is going. This looks good. All right, so it's again very repetitive. It's a very repetitive thing we got to do here. All right, so 3 times 8, that's 24. So we're now up to 425. I mean, this puzzle goes, it goes quick when it goes. When it goes quick. And it goes repetitive, which gives us, again, a lot of time to chat. You know, I don't even prepare notes before these episodes, so if I say anything that makes sense, that's like a miracle, I would say. Right there, a miracle. Right on your own, you know, TV screen. Or is anyone watching this on a TV screen? I think a lot of people watch on a computer. Anyway, we're going to punch out 8 74s and 16 75s. All right, let's start with the 74s. And then we'll move on to the 75s. Okay, how many we got so far? 5. So we need 3 more. Here's 3 more right here. 3 more 74s. Punch those out. There we go. Last one. There we go. All right. Now, the 75s. Oh. I didn't realize. I got to flip this back to here. Okay. The 75s. Here they are. Do you think there's 16 of them here? 4, 9, 12, 17. How many do we need? We need 16. Okay, so they gave us 1 extra. Oh, here's our chance to test that theory. Does one of them have that extra logo on it? Do you remember on the first or second night we discovered that a plus sign means it's an extra piece? Do any of these have the plus sign? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's only 16. So none of them are going to have the plus sign. Oh well. Maybe the next one will have the plus sign. I don't know why the first count I got 17. There's only 16 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are coming out easy. 6. I don't know why I'm counting them. There's only 16 of them anyway. It's not gonna, counting's not gonna change that. You know they're pressed against each other? Like, look at that. Like, 2 of them come out of one slot, meaning they were holding in other 75s. That's cool. Man, look at that. Yeah, repetitive work on this puzzle. It's a little different from other Ugears puzzles. So anyone think up something crazy yet that they're going to try to defend? Oh, by the way, this board is done. This board number 4, it's done. We used even the spare. There was a plus sign here. Remember, the plus sign means it's an extra piece. Why is that looks so garbage tonight? Okay, there we go. All right, so there was an extra piece, but apparently we used it. And we used everything. This board is done. Board 4 is done. All right, so you need to think of something crazy so you then can defend it. Oh, by the way, before we think of something crazy, let me just mention one important thing, because there's a note from the instructions, so I should mention it. When we put this together, first of all, the tab should point up. Second, the tab on the 75 should point up. The tab on the 74 has to lay flat, so the line goes in, however you want to call that. I would say perpendicular maybe is a good word for that, but basically it goes in like that, not the other way. So you can see the line going in if you're looking from up above. So we got to do this, 8 times? And then we got to connect them all to this piece. All right, so your task, should you choose to accept it, is to come up with something that doesn't make sense, something that runs counter to the mainstream, if you want to describe it that way. And then you have to come up with reasons that it's true. But you don't want to fall victim to confirmation bias. So even if you come up with 10 reasons why something is true, you then have to go back and think up like 10 reasons why it's also false. Because you don't want to like accidentally misinform yourself. I mean, it's a good exercise to think why something's true, but that's not going to make it true. But you'll be surprised, and probably at least once in your life, and probably more actually, you will figure something out. I think the most famous example right now is, I don't think I'm allowed to mention it on YouTube, but there was like a medicine that was going around a couple of years ago. And it was helpful to some people, but to other people, it had seemingly no effect. And to other people, I mean, it was admittedly a smaller group of people, but those people had less risk. They basically were creating more risk by taking the medicine. Like if they hadn't taken the medicine, they had like 99.97 chance of being fine. But if they took the medicine, they had like 99.90 chance. Meaning like they had bigger chance of not. They basically created risk. They created risk. And it wasn't totally their fault, because the narrative, the mainstream sort of line was, oh yeah, you got to take this medicine. Like, you'd be crazy not to. Well, it turns out it wasn't crazy. You know, and some people did do, as I said, every investor is a conspiracy theorist. Every prosecutor is a conspiracy theorist, because you have to be. That's the job. And a lot of people who are familiar with those ways of thinking, or even just a presenter, Like a proper news reporter who's actually doing their job is supposed to look at both sides of the issue. So even someone as simple, but this is why it was like banned on YouTube. You were like not allowed to present the counter argument. But anyone who would look into the counter argument, they found a counter argument very quickly. And the counter argument was, if the person had already been sick before they took the medicine, which they knew because there was also a test which confirmed whether or not the person had it. So if the person had already been sick and recovered, then the medicine was meaningless. Well, not meaningless, because the medicine worked different. It didn't work quite the same. But human history and evolution did work that way. Like, if the bubonic plague swept through your town and you survived and you developed immunity to it, then it was no longer a danger to you. So if someone said, we have a cure for the bubonic plague, and you said, well, I already had it, the cure's already in my body, that's the counter argument, and in that case, it would be quite a valid counter argument. I don't know if it really matters. Maybe in the real time of bubonic plague, the answer was like scrub your house clean and scrub your body clean and boil your food. And in which case, I would say you should do those things. Like in that case, the counter argument, even if it's correct, you're losing more than you're gaining, because you're not like shampooing your hair and keeping your hair short and avoiding lice and cooking pork, really well. So in those cases, you would have been better off doing what the mainstream did. So I can't really guarantee that this is going to work in all cases, but sometimes it will, And one thing you're definitely going to do is be more informed for going through the exercise. The same way you don't want to just blindly listen to someone else, you have to think for yourself. Whether that person, even if that person is thinking counter to the mainstream, you still can't rely on that person. Because if you're like, whatever you're doing, whether you're listening to the mainstream and blindly following them, or you're listening to some outsider who was right the last time, either way, if you're not thinking for yourself, you don't really know the answer. All right. So the next instruction here is to add this thing we built. The previous thing, add the thing we just built to the thing we built right before that. And it shows what it looks like when it's built. It's on there. But it also shows this caution. And the caution is saying, like, I'll show you what the caution is saying. It's saying that if you look underneath here, there's like a hook. And when you put this on, there's also a hook, and they need to line up. So basically, don't put it on this way, because if you put it on this way, it's backwards. Put it on this way, so that the two hooks line up. See a hook there, hook here. If I put this on facing this way, the hooks are going to line up. If I put it on facing the other way, the hooks wouldn't line up. Why did they have us build this first? It's like it doesn't fit on after it's been built. It's like I have to wedge it open, slide it on, and then wedge it back together. I mean, we're going to now have to do that 8 times. Anyway, we'll do it. All right, so just to confirm here, hook on top, hook on bottom. That's what they wanted to make sure. That was the note. They wanted to make sure we did that. And then, of course, the circle goes in the middle. So we got to do that 8 more times. Well, we got to do it 8 times total. So we got to do it 7 more times. It's a pretty big structure we're building. I feel like it might help secure some of the other stuff we built that kind of broke on us. Maybe this is going to save us. Let's see if it does. They kind of rock. Maybe they're supposed to rock. Yeah, they're probably supposed to, because like, look at that. Look at how it grabs the bottom. Yeah, they're keys, right? These are probably going to go underneath the 8 keys. I don't know exactly how they're going to work, but they're obviously going to have some movement to them. And something's going to obviously connect to the top. All right, let's try to get a little better at putting these on. Maybe I'll like widen them out this time and then slip them on. And yeah, start them further. It's easier to widen them out if you start at this end and then slip it on and then push it back together. This one didn't want to go back together. Well, whenever we connect something to these pins, that's going to definitely put it back together. But I think if you take this and you start from way back here, it's like a little easier to fit it in there. And then you just slide it till you get to those circles, and then they should squeeze on, and then you kind of squeeze the thing. So yeah, I think we figured out like the quickest way to do this. Widen the front, slip it on until the circles squeeze on, and then push everything back together. There we go. There we go. That's definitely working. What is going on here? Well, you know, sometimes it works better than others. Doesn't always work perfectly, but there we go. One more. It's a repetitive puzzle at times. There we go. Okay. We got them all on. We got the hooks on bottom lined up with the hooks on top. Tough to kind of get a look in there. I don't know why that looks so bad on camera. In person, I easily can tell that the hooks are lined up, but somehow it doesn't pop on camera. I can't get the right background or something. All right, a hook there, hook there. All right, what's next? That was page 37 we were working on. So we're moving on to page 38. Oh, I have some great news for you. Maybe you've already spotted it. Look what we're doing on page 38. Remember we talked about these tabs and something needs to go on the front? Well, it's the keys. The keys are going on the front. So, yeah, it's pretty simple there. Pieces 76 through, I don't know. There's two 76s, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81. So pieces 76 through 82, and there's two 76s. But I think the easier way to do it is to read the keys. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's what we're going to do. Let's do it. We're going to put the keys on. So, they said C first, right? This is going to go left to right. We're going to do this, right? So C, D, come on. C, D, E, F, E, and then it's going to go around. We're going to get to C a second time. F. Where's the rest of these keys? There we go. What is that key? Is that just an extra? Or is that the A? Yeah, that's the A. It's just upside down was tough to read. That's the A. All right, well, the G is the next one we need. G. And then we loop around A. B. Something didn't add up here. C. We're somehow like it doesn't fit. I guess they're kind of going to be a little closer together there. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So I don't even look at the numbers. They had numbers. These were 76s. And then 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. But they don't matter. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's what matters. So let's put the C's on first. So this is going to feel like stronger once I put the C's on. Once we put these keys on, right? I think so. They're actually not so easy to get on. Why is that? All right. I got the first one on. It wasn't easy. Let's see how the second one goes. I guess get it in there really tight first. And then line it up. Yeah. Not easy whatsoever. But we'll get it. When you get the first one in, the second one becomes easier. Like the first one, you've got to wedge it in there. The second one, it's already wedged, I guess. It's already lined up. But the first one, that's the killer. Can't get it in there. Come on. Can do it. Just drive it in there. My goodness. There we go. Okay, good. You can hear that pop when it goes in. All right, C, D, C, B. Okay. Central bank digital currency, CBDC. That's you can look into that. It's basically government Bitcoin. It's a big debate topic out there in currency spheres. CBDC. I mean, it's backwards, but there it is. I don't know how that happened. What did I say it stands for? Central Bank Digital Coin? Something like that. I don't know. I might have said digital currency, but I think it might be digital coin. Because, you know, they have that like Dogecoin and Bitcoin. So I think it's actually probably coin. And central bank, that's like... I don't know if this is the definition of a central bank or just what I've heard about it, but it's like the bank that lends to other banks, and as a result, the money is not real. Like they lend you the money, and then you pay the money back. The money you pay back is the real money. The money you paid in was just kind of a contract saying that you would like pay the money, but you're able to spend that money. I don't know. It's how banking works. It's kind of like crazy, right? It's like you agree to borrow this money and pay it back. So they're like, oh, okay. So you can spend this money even though it doesn't yet exist. And then as you pay it back, it exists. And as you pay it back at interest, that becomes like an impossibility. Because how, if the money supply is created by people borrowing money, then how could you possibly pay it back? Well, you can, because there's a lot of money that gets written off. It's actually a very common thing. People will, not me, I never did it, but there's people who will default on loans or who declare bankruptcy. And in that case, they paid out money that didn't get paid back. I mean, there's like whole companies that do this. They like default on, sometimes they default on the bondholders. I shouldn't start that as a rumor because, there's all different rules and I think they're different for every company, but, it can happen. I'm sure it's happened in history. All right, so there you go. We've created, I don't know, something. Something's been created here. Why when I tilt, why are some of them moving? Do you see this? When I move the B, it moves the F. Oh, is it always the F? Okay, so I don't know what's up with the F, but watch this. I hit the C, the F moves, the D, the F moves, the E, the F moves, the G, the F moves, the B. No matter what I hit, it moves the F. Is there something wrong with the F? Why is it moving with... All right, let's suspend it in animation. Okay, now it doesn't do it. It only was when it was on the table. I'm not going to worry about it. Whatever it is, it probably will get straightened out as we continue on with this construction. By the way, we didn't increment yet. So there's 8 keys we just put on. So that's going to bring us from 425 to 433. Now we're over an hour. We can potentially go further. Let's take a look at what page 39 looks like, and then we'll decide. All right, page 39 is getting into a whole nother ball of wax. We're attaching a bunch of rubber bands, and then when we attach that, we're probably going to want to attach it to the full construction. So we're going to leave that be for now. We're going to look at that mañana. I'm John Rapp. This is Just Rest Your Eyes. Good night, and see you tomorrow.